Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the dog walk, the almost daily, uncut, unedited, one take show where I take my dogs out for their evening walk while discussing whatever's been on my mind that day. I filmed this unedited and uncut because I think that that's the only way to truly be authentic. There's too much filtering, too much posing, too much editing going on YouTube. I truly believe that it's better. I might be alone in this, but I believe it's better to truly represent myself, all flaws and warts and all, which means not trying to paint myself in a light that's not true. Also, if you want to jump straight to the topic of today's talk, I have timestamps down below in the description so you can skip ahead. But before I get to today's topic, I want to just observe again today the weather has just been nuts recently. And yes, I say weather, not climate. I understand those are two different things, but in my mind, clearly what's going on with the weather is being driven by climate change, but it's 0 degrees now. You might remember that there was a drop of 72 degrees Fahrenheit 3 days ago. Now we're back up to 0 Celsius, which is a freezing point for you Americans, and expected to go back up to plus 15 by Monday, which is 3 days from now. So, yeah, weather has been completely crazy. Also, as I've mentioned in a few videos, but I haven't said recently. Uh-oh, that's a skunk right there. That is Daisy. I don't know if you can see that, but that was a skunk right there. Girls, let's go the other way. I don't want you. Daisy. Mistra, you should know better. You've been skunked once. Woo. Oh. Ooh, that could have been a disaster if it had been just a few houses in a different direction. It's kind of funny coincidence, if you believe in coincidences, because today I was actually editing the subtitles for the video of the night where I went out and there was a pack of coyotes roaming. So, edit the coyote video and come across a skunk today. Wow, that's pretty nuts. Anyway, that kind of completely broke my train of thought. I'm not quite sure what I was about to say. Oh yeah, I was about to mention that I've been, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, but I haven't said in a while, I'm actually going to be going to China. The trip is coming up very, very soon. Actually, next weekend we will be on our way to getting ready to get on the flight. So I'm trying to film or record shorter, more lighter videos, perhaps, for the next little while. Just because I've got a feeling that there's no way I'll be able to put in all the topics, the timestamps, edit the subtitles, and all of that stuff before I leave. So, but I also don't want to come back to a backlog of dozens of videos that I'll then need to do all of that work for before I can resume talking about what I'm sure will be a lot of things to talk about when I get back to China, from China. So yeah, I want to record something a little bit lighter today. So I'm going to talk about a movie that I just watched, The Marvels, and what I've thought about it. Well, so yeah, let's get straight into it, and let's not dilly-dally and waste more time. So, the Marvels. First of all, I must say it was felt very contrived. The movie, the plot, really, like the villain could have totally been like, it was a bad villain, it was a bad plot, it was badly written. I'm not just saying that because all the characters except Nick Fury were women. Not at all. I just think that, the Kree were supposed to be or they were portrayed, or the way I understood them, they were, an advanced, civilized people. And I don't think that was just because of the supreme intelligence, but like they had an empire for a reason, right? And the villain, with the power that she had, if she hadn't been purely driven by revenge, as they always are. Which way am I going? Yeah, let's take a shorter one. Let's go this way, girls. This way. I know you want to go that way, but let's go this way. Yeah, the villain, if she had had one or two brain cells, could have avoided every single challenge that she had in the movie. The only thing is she was driven by revenge. So, let's create the movie, right? But really, when you think about it, there is absolutely no reason why. First of all, since she had the power, Daisy, what are you sniffing there? Let's go. Daisy, Misra. Yeah, so sorry about that little interruption. Hopefully you're still around. Yeah, so first of all, like, with the power to create those gates as she had, well, she could have been a little bit patient with her advisor. That could have tried to stabilize the whole world. Oh, yeah, spoiler warning, obviously, for this entire video from the Captain Marvel movie. Yeah, she could have just listened to her advisor, first of all, and been a little bit more patient to stabilize the gates as she was trying to create them, which would have avoided a lot of issues. That's the first thing. Second thing, if she hadn't been purely driven by revenge, she could have picked any other planets. Like, the first thing where she goes for the atmospheres, like, why would you ever pick the only single Skrull planet in the entire galaxy if all you needed was the atmosphere? Don't tell me that you couldn't have picked any of the thousands, if not millions, of uninhabited planets in the galaxy or universe to siphon off the atmosphere and not have all these issues. And if you were just gonna destroy the Skrulls anyway, who are there just basically as a cameo and a way to bring in Valkyrie, another strong female character, but if she was gonna betray them from the start, why did she go through all this effort of false pretenses, which gave everyone a warning? She could have just gone there and done it, right? As opposed to pretending that she was gonna do a peace treaty with them, blah blah blah, all of that stuff. Then, same kind of concept for the second planet with the water, right? And I see uninhabited planets. There are large gas clouds everywhere in the universe. She could have not even touched a planet at all. Same thing for water. I mean, you could use some comets. You can use there's so many other sources of water. And if that planet that she went to was 99.63%, I think it was the oddly specific figure that Carol Danvers states, covered by water, isn't that like too much water for your hala? Like maybe you should have picked a planet based on how much water you needed and how much water that planet had, as opposed to just going to the single most planet that has the most water possible. So that's another flaw in her plan. The biggest flaw, though, is clearly the writers have no science training whatsoever and didn't even have a physics consultant or anything like that, because any high school student who has had basic physics could tell you that when they go in the crux of the battle or the crux of the movie to siphon off the entire the Earth's sun. Well, anyone could tell you that if you actually look up the size and mass of the sun and you compare that to the size of a travel gateway of those wormholes, whatever they call them, like, there is absolutely no way that her plan could have worked. It would have taken, I haven't done the math, don't quote me on it, but like literally thousands, if not millions of years to gather up all of the sun's mass through that one tiny little portal. Even if you had a way to accelerate it so that stuff gets siphoned off faster, still it would be way too long for that mass to actually transfer through. So her plan wouldn't have worked at all in the first place. Let alone the fact that, again, basic high school physics would tell you that, gravity pulls stuff towards where there's the most mass. So what do you think has the most mass? The sun or a gate to empty space? So nothing would have actually been pulled through the darn gate. It makes no sense whatsoever. Like, if anything was going to go through that gate, it would have been the other way around. Whatever was in space on the other side of the gate would have been pulled into our sun and just added to its fuel. So that made no sense whatsoever. Sorry, and I did study physics in university, but this is something that's basic. Unless they have some sort of unknown and unmentioned, most importantly, method that kind of makes the gate only one way and turns it into a giant vacuum that overcomes the laws of gravity, which is possible with the technology they have. But if that's the case, maybe they should have mentioned it. I'm pretty sure that it's just dumb writers who didn't even think about it. But hey, what do I know, right? It was more important to get representation and only a strong heroine and strong female characters in there than to actually, do some basic proofreading on your script to see if it makes any sense. Anyway, few other comments. Now, don't get me wrong, just because I guess I'll have to do a reverse crap sandwich, as which is a military term. When you have negative feedback to give to someone, normally what you try to do is you give a good point, then you give the crap in the middle, and then you finish off with another good point to kind of help soften the blow. So they kind of did. I'll kind of do the reverse of that. One thing that I enjoyed, well, actually there's two things I enjoyed in the movie, but the second one was after the credits, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, with the appearance of Beast and the connection to the Fox universe. Girls, what's over there? You're pulling like crazy. Come on. So that was one. It was nice to see Hank, but to me, the only redeeming quality of the movie was Kamala and her family. Like, I actually kind of enjoy the interplay and the humor that came from those characters and their outsiders perspective, the fangirl perspective, all of that stuff. And I think that the writers actually didn't overplay it. It could have been too much and become sort of gimmicky to the point where it wasn't enjoyable, but I think that wasn't the case. Like, it was just enough and it was good, and I really enjoyed that that whole dynamic. And even uh, as I'm thinking about it, that moment where they're all in the escape pod with Nick Fury, and Nick Fury's like, "Are you praying right now?" And he's praying to Allah, and it's not like, "Oh, what are you like? That won't help." Blah blah. It's like, "No, please do. Anything will help." And amen, amen. I thought that was quite funny. The Fury, hey, you're praying to Allah. I'll add my amens to that. We need all the help. That was I thought pretty good. So again, the only things that were good aren't really about the story or the main characters. Another thing that I thought was kind of another plot hole in the movie is, can you please explain to me why the Flerkens only ate the crew members and didn't eat even Kamala's family or Fury or Kamala herself? I don't know. Maybe there's something that I missed or that I don't remember that they explained in the first Captain Marvel movie or something like that. But even if it is some sort of telepathic link with Captain Marvel and Goose, then why would Goose's hundreds seemingly of kittens also know not to eat these specific people but to eat all the other ones? Anyway, I liked the fact though that my first thought when Fury came up with this plan was what's gonna happen if they start to regurgitate the people inside the escape pod? So the writer sort of addressed that, but luckily just at the end where it wouldn't actually have affected anything, so that was sort of fortunate for them. But even then, I guess the other thing that was just for comedy or to extend the runtime of the movie, but if you're a person who's selected to be part of an organization like Saber, as a military person myself, I can tell you that if you get ordered by Nick Fury, by your superior, to say, "Don't run from the Flerkens, let them eat you, it'll be fine," you freaking don't run from the Flerkens and you let them eat you, and you expect that it's gonna be fine. Like, that's basic military protocol to because your commander probably knows something that you don't if he's saying that. So trust him. And if you're at the point where you're a part of such an elite organization such as Saber, there's no way they would have all just run away like that. Just think, if you've ever watched the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., all the people sacrificing themselves and all that for the organization, right? So that was another, in my mind, another miss from the horrible writers of this movie. Yeah, I know there was a few other. Oh yeah, the other seemingly, and I'd have to rewatch it in order to reconfirm this, but I'm not going to. I've gone through it once, that was enough. The other seeming plot hole is when they are fighting on that water planet there. It looks to me like they're all using their powers at the same time, yet somehow they're only switching when it's convenient for them. Like, when did they say that they could control this? I'm pretty sure that's not a thing. They were entangled, and that's not how entanglement works. You don't will yourself to be entangled or not, so again, I'd have to rewatch that scene, but it seemed very obvious that all three of them were using their powers willy-nilly, except for the first 10 seconds of the fight, when Kamala is only using her scarf or whatever. But very quickly they start to all use their powers, and they only switch when it's convenient for the plot. So anyway, I think that's about everything I have to say about the movie. Again, I'm very much looking forward to seeing the X-Men join the MCU. I'm kind of curious to see what version of the X-Men they're going to bring. Is it going to be, because clearly they're building either the young or the female Avengers, right? At the end of the movie, there when Kamala goes to see whatever Hawkeye's the new Hawkeye's name is, and she mentions that Ant-Man also has a daughter, right? So I don't know if they're doing a young Avengers or if they're doing a female Avengers. Either I hope it's the first one, but anyway. What I was gonna say actually is I'm looking forward to see the X-Men join the MCU, and I'm very curious to see which version of the X-Men it is, because the Beast that they brought back was from the original timeline from the Fox movies, and there's been a lot of progress since then. I'm pretty sure that most of the actors from that movie, unless it's in very small cameo roles, wouldn't really be good to fit a good fit in the current MCU. So anyway, that's about everything I have to say. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you think, and hopefully my comments about everything being just females and all that didn't offend you too much. And I hope you'll notice that none of my actual gripes about the movie that I stated were about that. It was all about the bad writing and the bad plot. So please consider that when you write some hate down in the comments. On that note, have a good evening.